The NBA All-Star break symbolizes the halfway point in the season, where the Toronto Raptors find themselves at 17 and 19 and very much needed this time off. So in this video, we are going to break down why the Toronto Raptors are struggling. Let's get into it. Welcome to Amateur Sports. This is the channel where you get NBA content with a focus on the Toronto Raptors. So if you like what you see from today's video and you want more of myself talking about the Raptors in videos or live streams just like this, make sure you hit the like button to help us reach some new viewers and hit that subscribe button as well to keep up to date with all the content we are putting out. Again, we do a ton of videos about the Raptors. We also do a ton of live streams. We're doing 3 live streams this week. Tuesday, I will be shaving my head for donations to charity. Wednesday, we will be doing a Rebuild the Raptors 2K stream. And Thursday, we have the Raptors back for a watch along against the Atlanta Hawks. But in today's video, we're talking about the Raptors season so far. We're breaking down what's transpired so far in the Raptors as they have a 17 and 19 record into the All-Star break. Now, it's not been the ideal season for the Toronto Raptors by any stretch of the imagination at this point. Imagine at the start of the season telling a Raptors fan that at this point we are going to be 17 and 19 because the Raptors last season were the 2 seed in the NBA, the second best record in the entire NBA. The year after losing Kawhi Leonard in free agency, everybody thought the Raptors would just fall down the standings and maybe even miss the playoffs. But no, they rallied into the 2 seed in the NBA. And I thought the Raptors, sure, I didn't think they would be as good as they were last season, but never did I imagine a under 500 record halfway through the season. It's just so shocking to me. I was expecting this Raptors team to pull out, in the mid 40s, in the high 40s even for wins, but that is clearly not going to happen. So what is this Raptors team's ceiling? What can they accomplish for the rest of the season? Why have they been struggling so much this season? Well, I think the biggest reason for the struggles is the lack of chemistry between the players to start off the season. Obviously, the Raptors did not get out to an ideal start. They started with a 2-8 record, and they clawed back, they fought back eventually to get to 500. Above 500, they fell below and then got back to 500 again, but they've fallen below after that at 17-19. But starting the season 2-8 was not ideal at all, and losing both of the centers that get minutes in your team was clearly one of the big problems for the Toronto Raptors. They brought in Aaron Baines and Alex Len, who, Alex Len is no longer with the Toronto Raptors. He was so poor that they decided to waive him. And as far as Aaron Baines goes, he's been underwhelming. He's starting to improve a little bit, but he's not been as good as we would have expected Aaron Baines to be, considering the season he had last year with the Phoenix Suns, where he was quite impressive with his statistics. We asked a career backup center to be a starting player, and it just seems like that wasn't going to happen. Aaron Baines is not good enough to take that next step to be a starter. So the Raptors really should be looking towards bringing in another center to this team, like a JaVale McGee, like a Hassan Whiteside, like a Mo Bamba. But we'll see how the Raptors do that before the NBA trade deadline. But starting the season 2-8, the offense was really slow. The defense also was very sloppy this time, and it had a lot to do with poor shooting percentages from the Raptors. We brought in a new offensive coach in Chris Finch, and his system did not gel with the team very quickly. The Raptors seriously struggled to score in the half court. Any half court situation, you could not rely on any of the Raptors to score. Pascal Siakam also was pretty poor to start off the season, was not having some Pascal Siakam-like games, and for that reason, his averages were dropping. He has picked it up since, but that 2-8 start really set the tone for the season. Lack of chemistry between players because of having 2 new centers come in. Lack of chemistry between the players and the new offensive coach in Chris Finch. And individual players not playing up to the standards that the Toronto Raptors have set over the last few years. So the Raptors found themselves in that hole and then started working towards recovering from that. And they did so. They did recover from that. Again, working themselves back to above 500 at one point. The Raptors seemed like they had turned their season around. It was safe to say that the Raptors were basically back after beating the Milwaukee Bucks twice and beating the Philadelphia Sixers as well as the Timberwolves in the same week. The Raptors have also beaten the Brooklyn Nets this season, so they're capable of beating the best in the East, but consistency has been a bit of a problem. And going into this All-Star break, it seemed like the Raptors were in the best form of the season, but then the virus bug hits and the Raptors lose a bunch of players to health and safety protocols, and all of a sudden they got to go shorthanded into a game against the Pistons where admittedly they still should have won, but they fall because of the amount of players missing. And then they fall to the Boston Celtics despite a great effort. They didn't have enough talent to still win that game, to still beat the Boston Celtics. So I thought that the Raptors should have been going into this All-Star break. Their game against the Bulls got suspended. I think they would have won that game. Full strength, they're definitely beating that Pistons team, and they probably don't beat the Celtics, but still, that Raptors team would be above 500 heading into this All-Star break, and we'd have a completely different complexion of this team. They'd be 19-18 rather than 17-19. So, sure, right now it doesn't look good, and it also doesn't look good to go into an All-Star break with 2 losses in a row. But the Raptors, they have some easier games coming out of the All-Star break. Sure, there's some hard ones, but I think the Raptors can get themselves back up to 500 and still put together a pretty good season in a wide open Eastern Conference. So I think that the biggest things so far this season have been, again, the chemistry with the players, chemistry with the coaches, and Chris Finch. And people were calling out Chris Finch at the start of the season. His offensive schemes weren't quite working, but then the Raptors fans, the kings of the recency bias, as soon as Chris Finch gets a job with the Minnesota Timberwolves, and obviously Chris Finch figured everything out and everything was looking great for the Raptors offense, but then he gets a job with the Minnesota Timberwolves, and now we're acting like it's such a huge deal that we lost Chris Finch. And sure, it was a pretty big deal, but these are the same people that were calling Chris Finch out at the start of the season. So recency bias is a huge problem with Toronto Raptors fans. It's something that definitely annoys me. Pascal Siakam will put up 30 points in one game, and people will be praising him as the best player on the Raptors. And then the next game, he could fade off a little bit, only at 10 points, and people are calling him to get traded. So the Raptors, they have done a lot of work to come back after that 2-8 start. And obviously, the 2-8 start was awful. The coaches needed to be held accountable. A lot of the players needed to be held accountable. But the Raptors continued to fight, and they bounced back. And I think that the Raptors are really in a good position when everybody is healthy to get themselves above 500. I think that realistically, as we progress through the season, this Raptors team is going to recognize that this is a wide open Eastern Conference. I think that Masai Ujiri has some trades that he wants to get going by the deadline, bringing in a big to help out the team with rebounding, help out the team with the paint defense. I know we've been playing a lot of small ball, but I definitely think that the team needs that big like a JaVale McGee or like a Hassan Whiteside to really help us out, help us against the bigger opponents. Like the Celtics really rinse us in the paint. The 76ers really dominate us in the paint as well. So we need to rectify that aspect of our game. But what do I feel like is going to be the Raptors' ceiling as we progress through the season? I think that the Raptors, again, have looked like their defense is back and their offense is finding its game. The defense right now looks like it's back. So as we progress through the season, I think the Raptors are looking at themselves like a 6 to 4 seed. They're not going to be a top 3 seed. They probably won't even be a 4 seed, but I think that we're looking at the 5 seed as something we should make our own. It's a wide open conference. Again, a lot of teams in and about the same record, so the Raptors string a few wins together out of this All-Star break, get some momentum going, make a trade to really help this team. Not a huge trade, but a smaller trade just to shore up the center position. Again, JaVale McGee is the guy on my mind in this scenario. Just shore up those positions to make sure you are equipped for a bit of a run near the end of the season. I think the Raptors will finish the season a few games above 500. I think they'll be 3 to 6 games above 500. I expect them to go on a little bit of a run at some point. They seem to always do that every season. Get themselves above 500 and go on a run and see what you can do in this wide open Eastern Conference. You finish in the 5th or 6th seed. The Raptors in the 5th seed probably play the Celtics, which would be a bit of a problem, obviously. But the 6th seed, you get the Milwaukee Bucks. And I think that this Raptors team, who knows how to shut down Giannis, I think that they could honestly beat the Milwaukee Bucks in a 7-game series. Obviously, they wouldn't be the favorites, but Toronto can get that done in a series against the Milwaukee Bucks. I think that realistically our ceiling is the second round of the playoffs. Maybe we exit first round, maybe we exit in the second round, but this is a transition year as we look to improve our core and build around them for the years to come. This is a transition year. I think the Raptors are going to be much better next season, but still, we have this season to play. So let's be the best team we can possibly be without sacrificing future aspects of our team. So based on my prediction at the start of the season, this has been a pretty bad season so far for the Toronto Raptors. Again, under 500. I would not even have conceived the Raptors being 17-19 at the All-Star break. There is a lot of work to do to rectify the errors that were made early on, but we really dug ourselves a big hole that we are still trying to climb out of after those first 10 games. Again, 2-8 to start off the season. The Raptors had to claw their way back into contention in this Eastern Conference. They are a different team than they were at 2-8. They are really working back to what they were last season. They'll never get there because of how far back they already are. But bringing in so many different players, the chemistry was a problem. The coaching, different coaches like Chris Finch. The offense was a problem. The defense is finally starting to look like itself again. These things are slowly improving for the Raptors, especially with a shorter offseason where you couldn't get as much of a training camp in with all these new players, new coaches, new systems. It was very difficult for the Raptors to adapt to all of these situations. And again, playing in a completely different place in Tampa rather than Toronto, not in front of the Toronto fans who are some of the best in the NBA when they're in the Scotiabank Arena. So with all these problems, the Raptors are fighting so many different things, and they have to fight through it. And sure, it's been a disappointing season, but you can understand perhaps why that is the case. It shouldn't have gotten to this, but when we were at 2-8, looking back at the team that was 2-8 to see the Raptors where they are now, I'm happy with the way they've clawed back. But considering at the start of the season what I was thinking this Raptors team could achieve, I am disappointed. I am definitely disappointed. But then you kind of switch over your goals, switch over your aspirations once you start 2-8, and the Raptors look like they are going to be a playoff team, and they are going to give whoever they play in the playoffs a very tough time in the first round. Maybe they can even sneak out a first-round playoff win. But lots of work to do for this team. They need to correct some things. They need to be more consistent. Guys who are individuals. Individual players need to be more consistent as well, like Fred VanVleet, like Pascal Siakam, but they are improving. They are definitely improving, and this Raptors team, I'm sure they'll make a trade. There's no way they can go without making a trade based on this start. Besides, Jury's probably got something scheming in the background, and this Raptors team will recover. They'll make the playoffs, and they will be better next season. So let me know what you guys think about this Toronto Raptors team so far. What do you make of the first half of the season, and what do you expect them to achieve over there in the second half of the season? Let me know all of your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below. That wraps up for me for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you are still here, please like the video if you like, and subscribe to Amateur Hour Sports for more content just like this. Again, ton of videos and a ton of live streams. We've got 3 live streams in the next 3 days, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. We are doing all these live streams right now to raise money for 2 great charities, the Canadian Cancer Society and the Sick Kids Foundation. So if you want to donate, the link is in the description, or you can come to the streams just to show some support, just to help us bring in some more people to help with donations to these charities. There are some fine organizations, and the amateur sports community wants to give back. Already raised over $1,000 Canadian and about $858 US. So we've made our mark, but we are going to keep pushing forward. At the end of the day, I believe what I say. If you disagree, that is okay. We'll see you again next time for another video.